Hello, are you curious about collage? It's often unappreciated and undervalued, in my opinion, and considered childish. But today I'm going to review this book, Experimental Coasts in Mixed Media, by a well-renowned collage artist called Mike Bernard. One of my very few lovely subscribers asked me if I could review a book about collage, so I've chosen this one for you. Mike's a fantastic collage artist, and after seeing his work, I'm sure it will change your perception about collage as an art form, particularly fine art form. I've put several links below in the description to Mike's website and also to several galleries that represent Mike. If you visit these sites, you'll be able to get some really close-up views of the detail in his actual work, much more than this video review of his book can do. I was inspired by Mike to have a go at collage, and simultaneously my 3-year-old grandson paid me a wonderful compliment, and I cracked on and I actually produced a collage based on that myself. At the end of this video I shall share that with you if you're interested. Anyway, let's get on with the book review. Thank you. So Mike Bernard is an acclaimed mixed media artist and renowned for his lively coastal scenes. And this book, it's a masterclass in colour, shape and texture, and it demonstrates how you can bring the same originality and energy to your own work. A pioneer of collage, Mike's inspirational paintings and the practical exercises and step-by-step demonstrations in this book will show you how to combine collage techniques with acrylics, inks, pastels and other materials such as newsprint and foil and create stunning effects. There are 5 main chapters: before you start to paint, palette, materials and combining media, creative techniques, atmosphere and mood, going further towards abstraction. The foreword by Susie Hodge tells us a little bit about Mike himself. Over the next few pages, Mike lets us know how he became interested in collage and how he developed his own style, and also gives us some advice on how you can develop your own style too. I really like this painting, Low Tide Mouse Hole. The actual size of the painting is 20 by 20 inches or 51 centimetres by 51 centimetres. This lovely painting is Passage Street, Fowey. It's 15.5 by 24 inches. I hope the measurements have given you an idea of the scale of Mike's work. They are quite large, 24 by 30 inches, and the sort of sizes I've called out previously. And over the page we have Harbour Lights, Salcombe in Devon. Dramas created with deep Prussian blue and contrasted with white and bright colours. The small details and reflections have been added with fine ink lines. And Mike tells us it's only natural if you feel a little daunted when you're faced with yet another sheet of white paper or plain canvas. So how do you motivate yourself? Mike says, I motivate myself every day by painting what I love. I set myself challenges and I don't allow the white paper to overpower me, and suggests looking for colours, shapes and patterns, repeats and contrasts in the landscape or wherever you are. The inspiration for Mike's paintings are evoked by his surroundings, and one of his favourite locations is Cornwall, a place that he returns to regularly. When on painting trips, Mike takes plenty of photographs, makes sketches and notes, and anything else that he thinks he'll need to work from for when he returns to the studio. Mike works with all the images he has, his own sketches, photographs and postcards, and makes a sequence of compositional studies before he starts a painting. Wherever he is, Mike looks for contrasts in colour, shapes, tones, textures and patterns. In the painting Sunny Town Quay, the contrast of colours here create a sense of vitality in his collage. Words from a local magazine have been used to highlight the location. Identification of shapes and pattern. If a shape is needed to balance a painting, then go ahead and add one. Mike tells us that sketching on site forces you to be selective. Using sketches as a guide, Mike experiments with large shapes on the canvas. Mike recommends that you practice drawing in front of your subject and on location, and this way you'll see what is important. He uses pieces of card like a brush and suggests you give it a try, and hopefully you'll find it as liberating as he does. This image, Rio Maggiore, Cinque Terre, layers of collage, paint and oil pastel create a rich and interesting image that keeps you intrigued. The more you look, the more you see. Mike's paintings are representations of places, but with his own personal interpretations of those locations. Here, the location has been suggested without being too descriptive. In Lane to Harbour Staithes, the contrast of blue sea against the white houses was created by studying the negative shapes around the houses and their rooftops. Shown here is the range of materials and mediums that Mike uses in his work, which include a variety of different papers, pastes, glues and acrylic inks. It was around 1992 when Mike made a radical change from painting in oils to using mixed media. So instead of trying to paint every colour that he could see, creating mood and atmosphere was more important. Mike usually selects just two colours to start with. In Bathers at Sidmouth, the two main colours here were yellow and blue, with some bright spots of colour elsewhere to liven the composition. In Harbour Entrance Polperro, the red sky against the grey rooftops conveys an arresting sense of drama. Here Mike talks about his thinking process when he begins a collage. In Inner Harbour Polperro left, Mike has used lighter colours between the buildings to convey a sense of distance. Here Mike discusses some of his techniques. He often uses words from magazines or newspapers to provide added detail and interest. Mike recommends creating thumbnails to help you develop an interesting composition and colour combination. By taking a magazine and using the colours, you can treat these as though it were paint to come up with interesting colour combinations and placement of objects. Here Mike emphasises the importance of pattern in his work. In Late Summer Swimmers, the overall impression is of a busy beach scene with joyous colours. He built this up completely with pattern, looking at the patterns on the grass, the patterns created by the windbreaks, and the patterns formed by the figures. It's all pulled together in the composition. Here we have our first step-by-step project, Rio Maggiore, which you can follow along with, depicting a small fishing village in Italy, which is one of the colourful locations Mike never tires of depicting. Although Mike's paintings are based on real locations, they all have strong abstract qualities. I really like this one, Glimpse of the Dart. Here Mike discusses what he looks for when he's sketching or taking photographs. Texture is important to Mike in his work, and here are some experimental exercises for you to try. The importance of repetition. Shapes and patterns that repeat each other will naturally draw the viewer's eye around the picture, illustrated by the row of deck chairs on the left and the repeating balconies in the main image, Fishing Village, Tuscany. After gathering information with his sketches and photos, back in the studio, Mike begins working on paper, board or canvas. He prefers working on board so he can adjust the size of the image later, which isn't so easy to do with a canvas. When working on a painting, Mike usually tries to include some papers that are particularly relevant to the subject matter. For example, a painting inspired by a Cornish harbour, he might tear shapes or letters from an appropriate holiday brochure. At the end of this video, I'll share with you a collage that I produced myself based on something my 3-year-old grandson said to me. I incorporated text from a magazine that was relevant to both of us. Which brings us to the second step-by-step project, Devon Beach, where Mike shares his process and techniques and explains how he builds up the final image, creating a sense of aerial perspective or atmosphere by using soft pale colours in the distance. Mike states his use of colour is evocative rather than illustrative, and he tries to use colour in an imaginative way to create atmosphere and mood. Before starting on a large piece of work, Mike will experiment with different colour combinations. In the image on the right, Mike used a monochrome palette to represent the fading light. Strong contrasts in colour and shape will attract a viewer to come close to look at your work. I really like the image top right, Bay Road Island. I think it's lovely. Here we have several more examples where Mike has used colour to convey a sense of mood and atmosphere. In Beach Huts, Wells, Mike has used the edge of a piece of card and the flat of it to build up the shapes, lines and textures of the beach hut, and uses scrunched up paper and rollers to create texture and underpainting. In Beachside Cafe, Tuscany, Mike has used text but placed it upside down to create interest in the parasols. This brings us to the third project in the book, Polperro, where Mike has enlivened the image with one bright blue boat to create a vibrant focus in the midst of what would otherwise have been a fairly sombre scene. We've now reached the final chapter. Mike gives us some practical advice how to develop and take our work further towards abstraction, and we have a gallery of some of Mike's wonderful paintings. So let's enjoy them together. I hope you found my review of Mike Bernard's book helpful. I do go into a lot of detail. It's more than just a show and tell flip through. So I hope there was some useful information in there, and it might have inspired you to buy the book. So I promised to show you the collage that I created based on something my grandson, my 3-year-old grandson, said to me one day. And here it is, and I'll explain it. So here's my collage. And what he said to me one day was, "I love you more than a pigeon in a tree." And it's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me. So I created this, and I've incorporated the text. It's nowhere near the sophistication of Mike's work at all, not in the slightest. But I've used the words torn from magazines. The tree trunk and the branches I made myself from papers I made myself, and the leaves and the flowers were cut from magazines. But what I have done, and you won't really be able to see it, but in the leaves on the trees, I have actually got some that are made from text from magazines, and one of the leaves is actually my date of birth. Also happens to be my grandson's date of birth. He was born on my birthday. So what an amazing birthday present that was for me 3 years ago. So it just meant so much to me when he said that. He just came out with it. I told him I loved him, and he said, "I love you." And he said it with such passion. "I love you, I love you. I love you more than a pigeon in a tree." And for a 3-year-old to come out with that, it's like, you know, what is the connection between a pigeon in a tree, the love for a pigeon in a tree, and Nanny K. So that was my first, and actually, sadly to say, only forage into collage. but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I do plan on creating a video about various collage artists, because I genuinely think this is a unappreciated medium that often gets a bad rap. So if you've found my video useful, please give it a like, because I'm a very new channel and it helps YouTube promote the videos to other people, and I hope they find them helpful too. If you have any comments, please put them in the comment section below. Please let me know if you've dabbled in collage, or if you're a collage artist, and if you've got a book that you'd like me to review. I can probably say I've got the book. So I'm very open to taking requests. So happy collaging. Thank you for watching.